pinched myself when I found out I was working with Andy Sheppard, because he's such a jazz legend, really. And I've never had jazz education. I've never sort of learned all the stuff that you're meant to as a jazz musician. And to be sort of sitting next to a very respected jazz player is quite something.
I am completely self-taught. I mean, when I started playing, there weren't any colleges where you could study. I mean, I don't even have an O-level. Had there been colleges, because there are places you can go and study, I probably would have ended up in a college, maybe not to seek out the knowledge, but more to seek out like-minded musicians, you know. But yeah, the whole thing about jazz is a very personal language and a very personal kind of music and journey. So yeah, it does strike me a little bizarre that the notion that you can maybe learn, that it will be taught how to play. I think you spend hours and hours and hours practicing, thinking about what you're doing, the concept of what you're doing, work very, very hard, develop the language, and then when you play, you don't think. If you start thinking, you're in trouble. Except for when you're reading music, then you've got to think. So I've been thinking a lot this morning.
I'm not hearing those changes clearly
7
enough.
bars on G, and I'm sure that's what you're doing.
I think you were too late changing the first time round.
I'll tell you what, can I rewrite a bar of your music?
Of course you can.
So that I can play it?
Of course you can, yeah. It contains the elements of all the music that I like, so a lot of Brazilian rhythms in there, which I like very much. Strong melodies, nice chord changes. I suppose most people would call it jazz fusion, but that's not a term I particularly like, because it's a bit... I think it's more simple than that, but in rehearsal these last 2 days it's turned out to be horrendously complicated.
If we play 7/4, 7/4, 7/4, then 6.
So we lose a beat?
So the melody sort of...
Okay.
We're just rehearsing Mat's music at the moment, and I've come into it, you know, cold, because he did send me some stuff in advance, but I'm been so busy. But that's a kind of real situation, because I work, you know, all over the world now, playing meeting people for the first time, playing music.
Lovely.
It sings better to me like that,
yeah,
and I can play it. Which is always bonus.
We'll go with that.
Let's go with that then. So
every,
drop a beat at the end of the...
So that happens both times, but when it
Yep.
comes back. I love playing other people's music as well as my own, but it's kind of nice to walk into a situation where you're just a saxophone player, and then you try and find a space for yourself, and maybe try and lift the music.
He works in a way that I'd kind of forgotten how to, which was a much more open way. Part of learning about Brazilian music for me has been learning to play samba, and samba is a very regimented form of music. You can't improvise as a samba musician. It's frowned upon, really. So you get into a mindset of very much sticking to structures and being quite not rigid, but disciplined about the way that you interpret the structures of the music that you're playing. Whereas Andy is coming much more from an improvising background, which is how I used to work, and so it took me back just on yesterday when I was working with him, and then last night chatting, just made me think, well, yes, I've got to get back in touch with that feeling. So it's opened out the pieces, which is nice. He said to me yesterday he likes new challenges, and he found the material challenging. And I think, well, obviously that's something for him that's important. And I would imagine he enjoyed playing the music, and I hope that's what he's got out of it.
Sounds kind of more flowing.
To the guitar solo to make sure that we got the count right, because I'm not hearing the changes. To actually have him in the room playing on my material is quite fantastic. And that, I mean, we've been very concerned with like the nuts and bolts of getting the tune sorted, but I think tonight when we're on stage and I'm listening to him solo, I think that will be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be a chance for me to try out my material in front of the largest audience I would, because I'd never get that many people come to see me. So it'd be nice to see what their response is, and nice to see how the tunes work in that performance environment, because there's always a bit of extra adrenaline knocking around between the musicians.
It's very difficult with jazz because you start out and you're listening to, in effect, the best players in the world at the top of their form. I was completely into John Coltrane, and I still am. It's absolutely fantastic. But you know, you're starting out as a beginner and you're listening to this master, and of course you can only pit yourself against this, and you're like a tiny little grain against this mountain, which is very tough, you know. But I found also that I learnt an awful lot by playing next to musicians who were more advanced than I was. In a way, it's a kind of process of osmosis, you know. And also playing in a real situation, that's playing with a band, on a stage, playing with people, to people. So there's that exchange of energy. And after playing a gig with a great rhythm section or standing next to a fantastic saxophone player, you've learnt something, and it's a kind of, it's not very tangible, you don't really know what you've learnt, but you've kind of grown, you know. And that's the great thing about this music, that those kind of things happen.
One of the things